a lot of endocrinologists don't take insurance, and
Really?
I don't understand why. I don't know if it's just they don't want to deal with it. It's a hassle, and they know that people need their services, so they're just not going to bother with it. But like for a lot of endocrinologists here, I mean, you have to pay $400 or $500 just to get on their roll.
Wow.
And then it's like, it's $150 every time you have an appointment.
Man.
When I had an ultrasound, it was $300. I mean,
Man.
that adds up. And when you have insurance, it's like, I don't want to be paying all this money when I have insurance. It's supposed to cover it. So, so I'm still on the hunt for an endocrinologist, and I'm excited to maybe tell an endocrinologist about it that doesn't know about it, and because I mean, I'm a success story at this point, so it's already done, and look at what it did, and look, and then I can get an ultrasound and see the actual, they can measure the differences between the two. So,
have you taken any like measurements with just a tape measure of your neck?
I did before RFA. I actually need to do that. I haven't done another one since. So yeah, I have that measurement written down. So I need to do another one.
Send it to me because I would love to know the size difference in your neck, because with such a large mass, it's got to be significantly smaller by just now the shrinking.
I think it is. And there's a couple of necklaces that I love that I wasn't able to wear because they were too tight on my neck, and now I can wear them. So I know just from that.
That's amazing.
It's shrunk. So.
Yeah, I measured mine. The last time I measured mine, it was 3.5 inches smaller around than it had been before. And I lost some weight last year during the pandemic time at home. But the last 1/2 inch was all that came from the weight loss. The rest of it was all pre-weight loss. So I know, and my nodule was not as big as yours. So I know that you've got to have some significant shrinking in your neck. That's exciting. I can't wait to hear what you find out.
I'm definitely anxious to get an ultrasound. So I've got to get an endocrinologist, and I've got to get a primary care and get in there and get that taken care of. And then probably at some point have a second RFA. I think I'll probably go back to Dr. Setko since he did my first RFA. I really liked him as a doctor. I liked his team and his clinic. I would recommend him to anyone. And so I would probably go back to him for my second one. I'm just not sure when that will be.
So is he willing? I guess it sounds like to me like he's willing to let you follow up locally as long as you can find someone who will do that for you.
He is.
Okay.
In fact, great. He's great with that. He actually, his office called me not long ago and said, we need your ultrasound. We need to see what's going on. I told them why I was having trouble getting one. And they were like, I don't understand why they won't take our paperwork. I'm like, I don't either. So I'll have to figure that out. But yeah, they're anxious to know how it went, because, I was such an extreme case. He was like, wow, I really want to know how this goes. What happens with this.
In my case, I have all of my ultrasounds done at an imaging center. So I just go in there and they do the ultrasound, and then they give me a DVD or a CD of it.
Yes.
And I have to mail that to my doctor in Virginia, because in 2020, they don't have the technology to electronically send that to, I'm in Alabama to Virginia, and that just blows my mind. But so I get that CD made, and then I mail it to him, and he looks at it. And one thing that, you may deal with this at some point when you do get an ultrasound locally, is that the ultrasound tech does not understand what they're looking at when they see an RFA treated nodule, because it looks totally different than just a regular nodule does. And so, you know, every time I go in there,
It looks different, really.
I have to explain to her, and I've had the same tech the last 2 times, which was helpful because she was like, remind me, and I explained it to her. She's like, that's right. It looks dark because, you know, when you think about when you burn something, it gets darker. And the texture of the, you know, most nodules have a very smooth, rounded texture. Well, as these nodules that are ablated shrink, you know, they collapse in from the inside, and so the borders can get irregular. Well, that's a red flag when you're looking at just a thyroid nodule. Right. But when you're looking at an RFA treated nodule, that's totally normal. And so, like, when I went to my ENT and he's looking at my thyroid, he's like, this looks terrible. You know, this is so gnarly and so bad. You know, you've got to get this taken out. And I'm trying to explain to him, no, actually, that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. So yeah, so when you have your local ultrasound done, they may not know exactly what they're looking at. They may have a hard time, you know, measuring it. The last time I went in, she was like, you don't have one nodule, you actually have like 4 little ones, you know, because as it shrinks, like, you know, it's not one big thing anymore. It's actually, you know, separating into pieces. And so it's so, I wish I understood more about reading ultrasounds, but that is one thing. I can read medical journals and kind of decipher what they mean. I have no medical background, but I can kind of figure it out. And I'm sure you've been there. But ultrasounds, when I look at them, unless there's a baby on there and I could kind of make out like a skeleton and all of that, I really have no idea what I'm looking at. Yeah. And so I you know, I go in there and I try to tell them and help them out, but there's really not much assistance I can offer. And so this last time I had an ultrasound done, I sent it to my doctor in Virginia, and he's like, yeah, the ultrasound tech didn't get everything. Because she did her very best, but she just didn't know. And so, like you, I'm hoping that this becomes more mainstream and widespread so that not just the doctors know how to do it and can offer it, but that the ultrasound techs can get training in, you know, understanding what they're looking at, because that's important too. So anyway.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. The only thing I did know a little bit about that is the day after my RFA procedure that morning, he wanted me to come in and just look at it, see how the swelling was, you know, just check on it. He said everything looks great. He even had another doctor that he was training on RFA come in and sit in on the consult. Nice. And he did an ultrasound, and the day before, he had showed me the ultrasound before he did RFA and said, I want you to look at how this looks, because tomorrow I'm going to show you how it looks different. And so he showed me the ultrasound, and it was, like you said, it was black. Whereas the day before it had been a light color. And he said, this is good. That means that the cells are dead. He said, all of this black in here is all of the cells we were able to kill. And I was like, oh, okay, that is good. You know, so even the next day you could see how different it was. But you're right, as it shrinks, I bet it'll be really interesting to see how weird it looks.
That's the end of this segment. To keep watching, click here. Or YouTube thinks you might like this video. If the story resonates with you, give this video a thumbs up or consider subscribing. And never forget to always educate yourself and be your own health advocate.